Hi, welcome to another lesson for English. This time it is for SPM or the Form 5 pupils. Today we are going to learn how to write summary. So remember that my channel is Educator OmniTube and I am Madam Gan. This is a sample of the 2019 trial paper. So summary is in paper 2. So the code is 1119/2. Let's look at section C. In section C, you are supposed to read a passage and then you have to answer comprehension questions. Okay, the marks will be 10 and then another question will be write a summary. The marks 15. So for summary, content carries 10 marks and language or style and presentation 5 marks. For style and presentation, it is for paraphrasing and the use of English. So this means that the marks are given when you attempt to rephrase sentences and also your language such as your grammar and your spelling. Now we are going to look at the summary methods. So first, you have to read the instructions a few times to identify the task. Then 2, you have to draw lines from, for example, 14 to 49. This is to indicate the borders for the summary points. And then for number 3, read the passage to look for 10 summary points. Number 4, you have to write only 1 paragraph. Number 5, write the 10 given words. So 10 words are given and your own words will be 120. So total 130 words. And lastly, number 6, write the total number of words at the end of the paragraph. Now let's look at the task for the summary question. First of all, we have question 31. Based on the passage above, write a summary on what Taylor did to help Willie and the locals in Monrovia. Your summary must be in continuous form, not note form. Use material from line 14 to line 49. Not be longer than 130 words, including the 10 words given below. So the line is 14 to 49. Then begin your summary as follows. Deciding to play along with really simple request, Taylor then, so the 10 given words are here. So now let's look at the passage. So section C, 25 marks, time suggested 50 minutes. Question 26 to 31 are based on the following passage. So these are the comprehension questions. Paragraph 1. One day in the winter of 2017, Ben Taylor, a marketer from Ogden, Utah, received a random Facebook message from Liberia asking for business or financial assistance. It was from someone named Willie. Although he was skeptical, he responded, "How can I help?" Willie proposed a business partnership. He asked Taylor to mail some used electrical items to an address so that the gadgets can be resold and the profits split between the two of them. However, Taylor was still unconvinced and replied with a small lie of his own. He told Willie he owned a photography business and could use some pretty pictures. Paragraph 3. Without wasting any time, Willie snapped a couple of sunset photos on his old flip phone and sent them to Taylor's phone the next day. Taylor was not even convinced they were pictures of sunsets. Willie said he could take better pictures if he had a better camera. Taylor decided to play along and see what happened. So he picked up the cheapest camera he could find and shipped it off to Liberia. Now, Taylor was really committed in this. His family thought he was crazy for interacting with Willie in Liberia. So you have to draw a line which is on line 14. Now we are going to move on to paragraph 4, 5, 6 and 7. Willie kept in close touch, telling Taylor he wanted to be a journalist. A week later, a bunch more blurry photos came through on his phone. When Taylor wrote back, he shared more advice for taking better pictures. Hold the camera steadily, for one thing. The next batch of Willie's photos came a few days later and contained about 20 more shots of people in their daily routine, walking in town, tinkering on their houses, fetching water. For Taylor, the images were heartbreaking. He had never seen such poverty, but their quality was much better, which posed a big problem. Taylor knew he had to find a way to compensate Willie or he would be labelled a scammer. He decided to make a booklet using the pictures, calling it Liberian Life. Then Taylor took to YouTube, where a few thousand people had started to follow his dispatches. He also started a crowdfunding campaign through Indiango.com. Initially, he sold a few copies of the 16-page booklet featuring a dozen of Willie's Liberia photos for $8. Sales exploded. Soon he had raised $1,000. He told Willie to donate $500 to charity and keep the rest. That is much more than a year's salary in Liberia. So Taylor didn't really expect an unemployed, impoverished man to just give all that money away. Another batch of pictures arrived. They showed smiling children with school bags and notebooks. Willie had bought out a market, renting a cab to haul the gifts and bless 5 schools with abundance. It was a revelation. Taylor did something else he never could have imagined a few months earlier. He traveled 6,500 miles to Monrovia, Liberia. He wanted to meet Willie. By the time the two men finally met in person, they had become good friends. When he got to Monrovia, Taylor felt surprisingly at home. I saw the places and the faces from the pictures Willie had sent, he said. When he got to Willie Street, he recognized it right away. He found his friend sitting outside his house, which was little more than cinder block walls, a dirt floor and a tin roof. Inside were Willie's wife and some of his 7 children, who also greeted Taylor like an old friend. Now we are at paragraph 8 and 9. It was not exactly a home, so Taylor asked Willie to use some of the money to repair his house, such as getting a new roof to keep the rain out. The two men decided most of the money should be reinvested in the community. The booklets kept selling to more than 40 countries, and by 2018, Taylor managed to raise $12,000 through the Liberian Life campaign. Willie confessed to Taylor that he used to send Facebook messages to strangers, hoping to find some way a new friend would help him out of poverty, as he was more than desperate. Fortunately, Taylor answered Willie's plea for help. The locals have also benefited from this unlikely partnership. Taylor and Willie have gained more than a friendship. They have become better human beings. So, remember that you have to draw a line on line 49, which is the last line for paragraph 8. Tips for writing better summary. So remember, the first one, the pronouns must be correct. If in the passage, first pronoun is used, for example like I, so you have to read the 10 given words. If the pronoun is third person, then you just change it to the third person, which is he or she. Example, begin your summary as follows. Deciding to play along with Willie, simple request, Taylor then. So Taylor is he. Number 2, do not use contractions as word count is still 2. For example, his, so he is. Didn't, so did not. Or she had, or she would. Okay, so it's still she would or she had. Except you can use can't, because can't is still one word from the word cannot. So number 3, do not write examples. For example here, it was not exactly a home, so Taylor asked Willie to use some of the money to repair his house, such as getting a new roof to keep the rain out. So you should not write such as getting a new roof to keep the rain out. Now let's look at tip number 4. To score, try to rephrase sentences or substitute words or phrases with other words or phrases of similar meanings. So they are synonyms. Example, when Taylor wrote back, he shared some advice for taking better pictures. Hold the camera steady for one thing. So you can write, Taylor replied Willie's letter and gave tips on shooting better pictures. For example, the word wrote or the phrase wrote back, you can change to replied, or shared, you can write gave or advice. Taking better pictures, you can write capturing better photos or shooting better pictures. Then tip number 5, do not write dialogues. If you think the summary points is in the dialogue, please rephrase the sentences. For example, I saw the places and the faces from the pictures Willie had sent, he said. So maybe you can write, he saw or Taylor saw the places and the faces from the pictures Willie had sent him. These are the answers or the summary points. So you have 14 here. So let's look at the sample summary. The 10 given words, deciding to play along with Willie's simple request, Taylor then you can continue, pick up the cheapest camera and ship it off to Liberia. He also wrote back and shared some advice for taking better pictures. Then he decided to make a booklet using Willie's second batch pictures, calling it Liberian Life. He also took to YouTube and started a crowdfunding campaign through Indiegogo.com. He sold a few copies of the 16-page booklet and had raised $1,000. Taylor told Willie to donate $500 to charity and keep the rest. He traveled 6,500 miles to Monrovia, Liberia. He asked Willie to use some of the money to repair his house. They decided that the money should be reinvested in the community and managed to raise $12,000 through the Liberian Life campaign. So don't forget that it is only one paragraph and write the total number of words, 120 words. Now let's look at how to rephrase the summary. The paragraph in blue are the sentences from the passage which I read earlier. So now let's look at the rephrasing of the sentences which are in the green column. So reminder, you have to use linkers and connectors to join your sentences. So let's look at the rephrasing. Deciding to play along with Willie's simple request, Taylor then picked up the cheapest camera and shipped it off to Liberia. He also replied Willie by giving him tips for capturing better pictures. Then he made a booklet using Willie's second batch of pictures, calling it Liberian Life. He also used YouTube to start a crowdfunding campaign through Indiegogo.com. He raised $1,000 by selling a few copies of the booklet. Taylor asked Willie to donate $500 to charity and keep the rest. Later, he traveled 6,500 miles to Monrovia, Liberia. He asked Willie to use some of the money to repair his house. They decided that most of the money should be reinvested in the community and successfully raised $12,000 to the Liberian Life campaign. So you can see the sentence here. For example, he also wrote back and shared some advice for taking better pictures. So you can change. He also replied Willie by giving him some tips for capturing better photos or pictures. Then you have then he decided to make a booklet using Willie's second batch of pictures. You can say, then he made a booklet using Willie's second batch of pictures. Okay, these are a few examples to show how you can rephrase the sentences for your summary so that you can score more marks. Thank you for watching this video and also learning how to write summary for SPM examination. So best of luck for SPM 2020, and then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It is called Educator OmniTube. So signing off. I'm Madam Gan. Bye bye.